Are you dangerous? I'd venture a guess that there are people who think you are, and some perhaps more than others. How dangerous do you think you are? Now, I'd have you consider that whether or not you think that's a good thing. What does it even mean to be dangerous? Well, according to our dictionary sources, being dangerous means that you're able or likely to cause physical injury. Now, I think our working definition goes a bit beyond just physical injury, though. Most people would agree, likely, that our definition could include things like causing emotional or psychological damage as well. And we've talked a bit about our capacity as individuals and our expansion. You may have joined me as we contemplated expansion at a rate that causes an internal vacuum or void of light. It's that space within ourselves that's created by tension, which is one of the necessary components for growth. At first glance, being dangerous or even being perceived as dangerous may seem like a bad thing. Do you want to be thought of as a dangerous individual? If your answer is no, I'm kind of curious what kind of value you might see in being harmless. I think we'd have to agree that to be considered harmless and not dangerous, one would have to be totally powerless or not able to cause injury or damage, just as we had considered. What does that have to do with our perception of the value of being harmless? I don't think I've met many people who wanted to be considered powerless. Does that mean we see value in being dangerous? Much gets made of the relationship between power and force, legitimate authority versus control at the point of a weapon of your choice. Countless examples in history show us where the harmless end up in those relationships. But let's be realistic, though. It's a rare person who's truly harmless or entirely powerless. We choose to engage with others in those ways within the social contract. There are generally consequences for inappropriate and or unjust use of that force or power. There's plenty of things to be thinking about in this regard. What happens when our phobophobia takes over? Does the irrational fear of irrational fear on the part of others actually make us dangerous? Seems a bit of a stretch to accept that your power or your actual ability to cause harm can somehow be measured against the insecurities of other people. I'll admit it, I'm guilty of it too. Misplaced stereotypes and assessments of people, places, situations. I've been totally wrong. We all have that evolutionary tendency towards survival. It's going to overcome our rational and logical minds sometimes. I mean, whether it's bridges or spiders or the FUF, the fear of unmasked faces. I guess that's a new one, and I'm really hoping it's satire of one flavor or another. You'll have to do the research on that yourself. I was watching an interview recently between Jocko Willink and Jordan Peterson, and the statement that Jordan made really stood out to me in this regard. I'll credit with inspiring this contemplation, in fact. He stated, "A harmless man is not a good man. A good man is a very, very dangerous man who has that under voluntary control." Recall that ancient adage on the relationship between great power and great responsibility? Well, responsibility deployed consistently in the regulation of power sure looks a lot like that discipline we value so much. I mean, we don't want our hero running about and killing everything now, do we? But when it's time, I think we definitely want them to have access to the darkness within them, sufficient access to the power to kill that dragon or to rescue that innocent from the cruel and the unjust. Perhaps it's the lack of discipline that makes us truly dangerous. Unfortunately, we'll have to save that conversation for another time. Real or imagined, Discipline has just about as much subjectivity to it as our irrational fear of someone on the other side of a computer screen not wearing a mask. You've got my take. What say you?